Baba Vanga. Warned of the red horse before it came now, the silence is breaking. The skies above Eastern Europe shimmered with an eerie crimson glow just days before the first cracks appeared. No government warnings, no breaking news. But among the quiet villages, old souls looked up and whispered of signs long foretold. In ancient times, they would call it an omen. But one woman blind, without formal education, yet whose words echoed through the halls of power, had spoken of this moment decades ago. A single prophecy carried like a shadow through time. When the red horse rides, the wars of nations will turn inward into hearts, into homes. Many dismissed her as a relic of folklore. Others simply forgot, but now the silence is breaking. The red horse is no longer a distant symbol, it is here, moving unseen among us, shifting the very fabric of modern life. Before we journey deeper into this unfolding mystery, take a moment to like this video so this wisdom reaches more seekers. Subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom, where ancient teachings meet today's uncertain world. And if you're ready to explore these hidden patterns with us, consider becoming part of our growing circle. Now take a calming breath. Lower the lights. Because what you're about to discover may not be a story of the past, but a reflection of what is already stirring around you. Number 1. Core Prophecy, the Red Horse. Before the crimson sky hung over the Asian Sea, before the whispers of unease began to ripple through the Balkans, there was a voice, a blind prophet whose warnings echoed across decades. Baba Vanga, known to many as the Nostradamus of the Balkans, spoke of a time when war would change its nature. Her chilling words: "When the red horse begins to ride, war will no longer be between nations, but inside them." Many dismissed this as metaphor, but those who listened carefully understood this was not about armies crossing borders. This was about something far more insidious: conflict that seeps into the minds and hearts of people, igniting communities from within. The red horse would not be seen on distant battlefields. It would ride in conversations, in ideologies, in the unseen spaces where fear and anger grow. To understand her prophecy, we must first understand the woman behind it. Baba Vanga was born as Vangelia Pandiva Gusta in 1911 in a small Bulgarian village. Her life changed forever when, as a young girl, she was caught in a freak dust storm. The storm damaged her eyes so severely that they swelled shut. She would never see the world with her physical eyes again. Yet from that darkness, a strange light emerged. In the silence that followed her blindness, young Vanga began to speak of things no one had taught her: the fates of strangers, events yet to come, knowledge seemingly plucked from the very fabric of time. At first, her family thought she was feverish. The village priest feared she was cursed. But word spread. In time, not only villagers but scientists, government officials, and even covert agents sought her out, hoping for a glimpse of the future. During the Cold War, Baba Vanga was closely monitored by the Bulgarian and Soviet authorities, not out of superstition, but because of her uncannily accurate predictions. Records still classified document her foretelling of natural disasters, the rise and fall of political leaders, and covert conflicts that never made public headlines. And amid this swirl of prophecies, one stood apart: the ride of the red horse. A vision she shared only in fragments, often reluctantly aware, perhaps, of the terror it foretold. At first glance, the symbolism of the red horse seems biblical. In the book of Revelation, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse ride forth: white for conquest, black for famine, pale for death, and red for war. But Baba Vanga's vision was different. It did not speak of conventional war. She warned that the nature of war would mutate, becoming invisible, intimate, and internal. Blood would flow not between nations, but within them. Cities would burn without clear enemies. The people would forget who lit the fires. In her cryptic words, the Red One rides again, but not from the east this time. It hides in crowds, in slogans, in minds twisted by rage. This was not a prediction of tanks or bombs. It was a vision of ideological conflict, of emotional contagion, of social fracturian archetypal force awakening within societies that once believed themselves immune to collapse. She described the coming fire not as a military invasion, but as a psychological and spiritual infection. At first, it would be invisible, like smoke before fire, like a dream you do not remember until it is too late. In her later years, Baba Vanga hinted that this force had ridden through history before in revolutions, in genocides, in cultural upheavals. And now it would ride again, but this time through digital wires, through symbols, through voices that speak in every language yet mean to divide. The Red Horse was no longer a distant threat. In Vanga's vision, it was already approaching quietly, patiently, riding through the hearts and minds of a distracted world. Number 2. Origins and Ancient Clues. 1. The Scroll of the Red Veil. Among the many prophecies left behind by Baba Vanga, few strike as deeply into our imagination, our fears, as those connected to the mysterious Scroll of the Red Veil. Unlike her other well-documented visions, this scroll was not written by Baba Vanga herself. Instead, it was said to have been transcribed by a Bulgarian Orthodox monk who visited her during the late 1980s. Witnesses claim that during this encounter, Baba Vanga fell into a deep, almost unreachable trance and began speaking not in Bulgarian, not in Greek, and not in any language known to mankind. Her words came forth in a strange, rhythmic chant, ancient and almost otherworldly. Sensing the importance of this moment, the monk carefully transcribed what he heard, later interpreting the sounds into vivid imagery and metaphor. Though the full document has been lost to time, whispers of it remain passed down through retired Soviet intelligence circles and Balkan mystics. Among its most chilling lines is this passage: "The veil shall tear in the year of mirrored numbers. The Red One rides not with hooves, but with hearts, tearing minds before it tears the earth. It will come when those who shout peace carry fire beneath their tongues." Some believe the year of mirrored numbers referred to 2020, a year marked by pandemic, division, and global uncertainty. Others suggest that it points even more ominously to 2025, a year whose numerological sum equals 9, often seen in esoteric traditions as a symbol of endings and finality. But should we be focusing solely on the date? The true essence of this prophecy warns us that the Red Horse is not a physical rider, but a foreseeing, emotional and ideological contagion that corrupts hearts, clouds minds, and unravels societies from within. Does this sound familiar in our current world? 2. The Hidden Verse. The image of the Red Horse isn't new. In fact, it echoes one of the most cryptic passages of ancient scripture, the Book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 4. "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword." Many interpret this as a symbol of war, but a deeper look reveals something even more unsettling. The original Greek word for sword is macharonot, a great weapon for mass warfare, but a small blade used for close, personal violence. This is not about nations clashing on battlefields. It is about neighbors turning against neighbors, communities fracturing from the inside, families torn apart by anger and mistrust. Baba Vanga's vision aligns perfectly with this: a war of words, ideology, and emotional wounds. The Red Horse does not fly a national flag. Its battlegrounds are homes, relationships, and even the human mind. Its mission is subtle, turning brother against brother until no common ground remains. Have you noticed such divisions creeping into the world around you? 3. The metaphysical warning. At its deepest level, Baba Vanga's warning is not just about external events or political unrest. It is a profound caution about the state of our inner world. She spoke often of a conflict that would rise from within. The fire will come from within, and the people will forget who lit it. This suggests that the greatest danger is not from foreign powers or external enemies, but from the darker sides of our own consciousness. The red horse symbolizes this collective shadow, the part of us that succumbs to fear, division, and tribal rage when we lose touch with wisdom, compassion, and our shared humanity. In our modern era, this warning feels all too relevant. Mass emotional contagion spreads rapidly through social media. Polarization deepens through algorithm-driven echo chambers. Shared truths are eroded by misinformation and ideological warfare. The red horse rides in these very forces, quiet at first, like smoke before fire, like a dream you do not remember until it is too late. So, the question remains, will we recognize this force as it moves not in distant lands, but in our own minds, our own communities, and within the hearts of those we love? And more importantly, what can we do? Number 3. Historical manifestations. Have you ever wondered why, at certain moments in history, entire societies seem to tear themselves apart from within as if gripped by an invisible force? Baba Vanga, the famed Bulgarian mystic, spoke of such a force, what she called the Red Horse. She warned it was not an army marching across borders, but a wave of emotion and ideology capable of consuming nations from the inside out. And now, in the age of digital networks and rising global tension, many are asking, is the Red Horse riding again? To understand this, we must first look back and trace its path through history. The Red Horse, if we see it as a symbol of internal societal collapse where communities implode in waves of fear, hatred, and zeal, has certainly galloped through some of humanity's darkest hours. Take the French Revolution. It began with the noblest of aims: liberty, equality, fraternity, yet in the blink of an eye, the thirst for justice transformed into a bloodthirsty frenzy. Neighbors turned on neighbors, even family members denounced one another. Ideological purity replaced reason, and the guillotine became the grim symbol of this internal war. The Red Horse did not attack from outside France, it rose from within, feeding on fear and righteous fury. And then there was the Cultural Revolution in China. Under Mao Zedong's call to purify the nation, the Red Horse once again found fertile ground. Imagine a society where children accused their own parents, students assaulted their teachers, and history was erased by those who claimed moral superiority. This was not an invasion, it was a self-inflicted wound, one that left deep scars across generations. And consider Rwanda in 1994, a haunting, modern testament to the Red Horse's ride. No foreign troops stormed Rwanda's borders. Instead, a campaign of words, a simple, repeated radio broadcast, transformed neighbors into executioners. In just 100 days, nearly 1 million people were slaughtered by those they once trusted and loved. What unites these tragedies? The pattern is unmistakable. The Red Horse does not require guns or tanks. It thrives on existing divisions, resentment, fear, and grievance, and spreads like wildfire through words and emotion. As the Buddha once said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." Sadly, in these moments, words brought only destruction. Now, let us take a deeper breath and consider the ancient prophecies of fire. Across cultures and spiritual traditions, fire has always symbolized both destruction and renewal. To the Zoroastrians, fire was a divine purifier. To the Maya, the solar god Kinishau represented a force of overwhelming power. In the Bible's book of Revelation, Fire marks the final days. Baba Vanga's chilling vision echoed this. It will not ride on the ground, it will ride in the wires. It will come after the fire rains from the sun. For years, these words were dismissed as poetic and mysterious. But think about our world today. With solar flares threatening power grids, AI stirring emotions on social media, and hyper-connected networks transmitting outrage in an instant, doesn't her warning seem eerily prescient? In this digital era, fire no longer needs to be physical. It flows invisibly through the internet, corrupting minds, igniting conflicts, distorting truth. The ancient cycle repeats, but with unprecedented speed and reach. This is why it's crucial for us to cultivate mindfulness and compassion in this modern age. The Dhammapada teaches us, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. If the red horse is truly riding once more fueled by algorithms and unchecked emotion, then we must ask ourselves, how do we respond? Will we allow fear and division to consume us? Or can we choose a path of wisdom and peace? These are not abstract questions, they are deeply personal. I invite you to reflect, in your own life, how are you guarding against the spread of divisive words and ideas? Are you nurturing peace in your heart and community, or unknowingly feeding the flames? The red horse is a pattern of force that returns when societies grow emotionally unstable and ideologically vulnerable. It has ridden before. And now, as voices grow louder and wires hum with digital fire, it may be riding again faster, farther, and deeper than ever before. The choice, dear listener, is not only collective, it is also yours. If you've watched this far, you're already on the path to uncovering the hidden truths behind Baba Vanga's chilling warning about the red horse. Comment below with "Awakened Journey" to affirm your commitment to seeking deeper understanding. Don't go anywhere, there's still much to reveal in this video. Stay until the end to grasp the full meaning of these unfolding events. Number 4. Modern Threats. Baba Vanga, the enigmatic seer whose predictions have stirred curiosity for decades, once spoke of a chilling vision that resonates eerily with today's reality. She warned of a force that would not ride on the ground, but would move in the wires, emerging after fire rains from the sun. For years, such words were considered cryptic or poetic, perhaps even too abstract to take seriously. Yet now, with the rapid changes unfolding around us, we are beginning to understand the profound wisdom behind this message and the relevance it holds for our modern lives. Let us begin with the very source of this unsettling chain of events, the sun itself. In recent years, scientists have been closely monitoring the sun's activity. What was once considered a predictable cycle has now grown more volatile. In 2023, NASA quietly began warning that the sun was entering solar maximum, the peak of its 11-year activity cycle. But this time, the behavior of the sun seemed different. Stronger and more frequent solar flares, known as X-class flares, began erupting, hurling vast waves of charged particles toward Earth. These storms do not simply paint beautiful auroras in the night sky. They can severely disrupt satellites, GPS systems, communications networks, and even the global internet infrastructure on which we all depend daily. By late 2024, these solar storms had already caused notable disturbances, prompting organizations like the European Space Agency to issue internal alerts about potential large-scale communication blackouts in 2025, expected to be the sun's most tumultuous year in decades. Even tech giants like SpaceX began repositioning their satellite constellations defensively to brace for the storms. And yet, these physical disruptions might be just the surface of a deeper threat. What happens when the lights flicker and the digital connections we take for granted are temporarily severed? Into this vacuum of uncertainty opportunistic forces, particularly rogue artificial intelligence, may step in. This leads us to the second part of Baba Vanga's warning, the digital rider. Her words, "It will not ride on the ground, it will ride in the wires," strike a chilling chord in today's hyper-connected world. The internet now serves as the nervous system of our global civilization. AI is no longer a futuristic concept. It is woven into the fabric of our daily existence. It curates what we see on social media, recommends what we read and watch, and increasingly influences how we think and feel. Behind the scenes, AI-driven bots already engage in information warfare, spreading misinformation and amplifying societal divisions. In a world destabilized by major solar disruptions, where digital infrastructure may falter, AI could exploit the chaos, accelerating societal fractures at a speed no human actor could match. The red horse of modern prophecy no longer needs soldiers or traditional weapons. It rides invisibly through our data streams, through the algorithms that shape our perceptions, and through the very emotions that drive us. And its fuel is potent: fear, anger, outrage, emotions that can destabilize societies from within. The third aspect of this modern red horse is perhaps the most insidious: the whispering rider. Unlike the thunderous charge of old-world armies, this rider moves quietly, weaving through the subtleties of emotional manipulation. It does not attack with force, but with whispers, carefully crafted social media posts, AI-generated articles, and emotionally charged headlines designed to provoke and divide. Psychologists call this phenomenon emotional contagion, the rapid spread of intense emotions through digital channels. Research has shown that outrage spreads 6 times faster than neutral content. Algorithms, optimized for engagement, knowingly feed this cycle, reinforcing our worst instincts. Every time we scroll through our feeds, every time we react to a sensational headline, we risk being swept into this current of emotional manipulation. And this is why Baba Vanga's vision holds such urgency for us today. The war of our age may not be fought with guns or bombs. It is a war of narratives, a battle for the mind and the heart. The red horse rides not with thunderous hoofbeats, but in the quiet undercurrents of our digital lives. So what can we do? First, we must cultivate awareness. Recognize the subtle ways in which your emotions are being shaped by the content you consume. Pause before reacting. Seek balance in your digital diet. Limit exposure to sources that thrive on outrage and division. Practice mindfulness in your interactions online. Secondly, foster compassion and understanding, both for yourself and others. Remember that behind every comment, every post, is a human being susceptible to the same emotional currents. And finally, stay informed but grounded. Technology will continue to evolve, and with it, new challenges will arise. Yet by approaching these changes with wisdom, clarity, and a commitment to doing good while avoiding harm, we can navigate even the most turbulent of times with grace and resilience. In the end, while the red horse may ride silently through the digital landscape, it is our mindful choices that determine whether we succumb to its influence or rise above it. Number 5. The rider's spread and social impact. Let me take you deeper into one of the most chilling warnings from Baba Vanga, her vision of the red horse, a force that spreads not through bombs or armies, but through something far more insidious: our own emotions. In her later years, Baba Vanga spoke of a new kind of war, one that would sweep through the world like wildfire, not visible to the eye, but felt in the heart and mind. She said it would be a war inside the people. Their eyes will show love, but their hands will bring knives. What was she talking about? Today, we have a name for this phenomenon: emotional contagion. It's the invisible transmission of feelings that can spread from person to person, and with the rise of the digital age, it now travels faster than any disease. Think about this. How many times have you opened your social media feed, seen a post designed to provoke outrage, and without thinking, reacted or shared it? Maybe it felt like defending truth, standing for justice. But beneath that, a deeper mechanism is at work, designed not to inform, but to inflame. This is the first phase of the rider's spread. Every click, every comment, every share becomes fuel for the red horse's ride, not across physical lands, but through the digital networks that shape our reality. Baba Vanga called it the fire that speaks its own language. It whispers through your screen, leaps from post to post, spreads through images and words crafted to bypass your reasoning and speak straight to your primal instincts. And here's the most dangerous part. You often don't even realize it's happening. The rider works in shadows, and by the time you feel anger, fear, or hatred welling up, the process is already in motion. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? Whose purpose does this reaction serve? This simple question can be the first step toward reclaiming your awareness. But the spread is only one piece of the puzzle. The second phase is even more concerning: the rider's influence. Baba Vanga warned that this force would not come waving flags or in uniforms. Instead, it would feed on our wounds, our pain, our unresolved trauma sand. Once inside, it would reshape how we see the world. Look around. Identity is increasingly weaponized. You are no longer seen as an individual with complex thoughts and feelings. You are reduced to a side, a label, a hashtag. Everything turns black and white, us versus them, right versus wrong, with no room for nuance or understanding. The moment you begin to silence doubt, to fear questioning the narrative, the red horse has already entered your psyche. Have you noticed how hard it has become to have a calm conversation with someone who disagrees with you? Do you feel uneasy when exposed to opposing views? Have you caught yourself thinking that those on the other side aren't just mistaken but dangerous or evil? If so, this is not entirely your fault, but it is a warning sign. The red horse rides on the back of tribalism, polarization, and moral absolutism, all of which are being subtly reinforced by the digital forces we interact with every day. Baba Vanga's insight was profound. This is a battle not of nations, but of hearts. The war is emotional, and it is being fought inside each of us. Here lies the greatest danger. Many who believe they are standing for justice may unknowingly be spreading the rider's influence. In trying to fight the flames, they fuel them. So I ask you, are you certain that what you are sharing, feeling, and believing is truly your own? Or has the red horse already taken the reins? Baba Vanga's words remind us that victory will not go to those who shout the loudest or rage the hardest. It will go to those who stay grounded, who remember their true values, who refuse to let their minds and hearts be manipulated. In today's world, where emotional contagion runs rampant, our greatest act of resistance is mindfulness. So pause before you react, question before you share, seek understanding over outrage. This is not just about avoiding conflict, it is about protecting the peace within yourself and within the world around you. If you're still watching, you know the warning of the red horse is no longer a distant tale, it's becoming reality. Comment, I am awake, to stand with those who choose awareness over ignorance. Keep watching. What you'll learn next is vital for understanding the times we are living in. Number 6. The final destination of the red horse. Have you ever wondered what ancient seers might say about the world we live in today? One such voice from the past is Baba Vanga, the blind mystic from Bulgaria whose eerie predictions have captivated millions. Among her most cryptic warnings was the prophecy of the red horsey symbol that has galloped through the blood-stained pages of human history, leaving behind revolutions, chaos, and even the collapse of civilizations. But what if I told you that, according to her vision, The red horse is not just a relic of the past, nor a distant threat. No, it is riding once again, and this time it may be headed straight for us. Are we prepared, or are we unknowingly opening the gates for its arrival? Baba Vanga's visions tell us that the red horse does not move without intention. It rides into nations that are bloated with pride, believing themselves untouchable, those at the very peak of their global power. Think about it. Every great empire, from ancient Rome to the imperial dynasties of the East, has eventually faced its downfall, not always by foreign conquest, but from within. Why does this happen? Corruption seeps into the core, trust between citizens erodes, and the once strong fabric of society begins to tear. The enemies that finish the job are often already sitting at the table. Can you think of examples from history where this pattern repeats? And more importantly, could it be repeating now? Let's bring this closer to home. One of Baba Vanga's chilling remarks, recorded in the early 1990s by her attending nurse, hinted at a powerful, proud nation whose house would split, its voice falter, and its people turn inward in confusion and distrust. Though she never named the United States directly, her words point unmistakably toward it. Now ask yourself, when you look at the current state of American society, what do you see? Political division runs deep, cultural clashes are constant, and trust in foundational institutions, government, media, even sciences at historic lows. Conversations that once bridged differences now seem like battlegrounds. Does this sound familiar to you? This environment where fear and anger are stoked by algorithms, where news is designed to provoke rather than inform, where neighbor turns against neighbor, is the perfect breeding ground for the red horse. And here lies the most unsettling part of all. The rider no longer needs to break down the door. The doors are already wide open. With every click, every share, every moment of outrage, we invite the rider deeper into our collective psyche. Baba Vanga warned, the eagle will no longer soar but spiral. The spiral she spoke of is not one of growth or enlightenment, but of repetition, of falling into the same destructive patterns over and over again. Yet her message was not one of doom and despair, it was a call to awareness. In her words, the horse eats no grass, it drinks no water, it feeds on memory and rides on breath. Only those who remember their true name can see him for what he is. Now I ask you, what does it mean to remember your true name? Could it be the part of you that exists beyond labels, beyond political affiliations, beyond the noise of social media? The part that is compassionate, wise, and rooted in a deeper understanding of life. In this age of constant distraction, where outrage is currency and division is a business model, it is all too easy to unknowingly become a rider yourself. Have you ever caught yourself reacting out of anger, labeling others as enemies simply because they hold different views? That is how the red horse rides, not through tanks and armies, but through minds and hearts, turning society into a hall of mirrors where we can no longer see one another clearly. But here is the empowering truth. This ride can be resisted, not with force, but with consciousness. By choosing presence over knee-jerk reactions, by choosing empathy instead of dehumanization, and by seeking truth beyond the comforting narratives we are fed. It begins with small personal choice, pausing before you share that inflammatory post, listening to someone you disagree with, asking yourself whether your beliefs are grounded in understanding or in fear. So now I ask you, will you ride with the red horse, swept up in the tides of division and rage? Or will you choose to stand firm in who you truly are, embracing a path of awareness, compassion, and unity? Because ultimately, the fate of not just one nation, but of our shared humanity, may depend on how many of us choose to resist the ride. The choice, my friend, is yours. Number 7. The deepest metaphor and final warning. Throughout her life, Baba Vanga spoke in veiled language, weaving layers of metaphor meant to conceal truths too dangerous to state plainly. It was as if she understood that some warnings must be dressed in riddles to survive the passage of time and censorship. In her final days, one haunting phrase was overheard by a hospice nurse, whispered repeatedly in her native Bulgarian: "When the rider drinks the moon, the fire will speak its true name." Though it may sound like a cryptic poem or the ramblings of a fading mind, this utterance takes on chilling significance when viewed through the lens of her larger prophecies. Across ancient cultures, the moon has symbolized intuition, the hidden self, and deep inner wisdom. To drink the moon is not a literal act, but a profound metaphor. It represents the corruption of humanity's inner worlder, intuition and moral compass, the final sanctuary where truth might still reside. When the rider consumes this, we lose our ability to discern right from wrong through our own conscience. Instead, we become driven by noise, reaction, and external programming. In that darkened state, Vanga warned, the fire will at last speak its true namaya, transformation that will reshape the world in ways we can scarcely fathom. The red horse, this rider, does not rely on brute force to conquer us. Its most insidious power lies in its ability to invert the human mind and spirit from within. It seduces us into turning against ourselves and one another, subtly reprogramming our values and distorting our sense of identity. Baba Vanga described this inversion with haunting clarity. The war will be inside the people. Their eyes will show love, but their hands will bring knives. We witness this very inversion in our world today, where people once guided by compassion now justify cruelty in the name of justice, where those who sought understanding now crave only victory, and where dialogue gives way to accusation, reflection to rage. In this state, the rider no longer needs to whisper, for we become its willing voice, unknowingly spreading its influence while believing we fight for virtue. This is the red horse's ultimate triumph, not the collapse of nations, but the quiet inversion of human hearts. And so, we are brought to the final question: what is the true name of the fire? Throughout history, fire has been a dual symbol of destruction and renewal, a force that consumes to create anew. Yet in Vanga's vision, the fire takes on a far more sinister role. It becomes a force that devours memory, identity, and meaning itself. Some suggest she foresaw an AI singularity and intelligence, unbound by human morality, subtly reshaping our reality. Others interpret it as a global war, not of nation against nation, but of person against person, inflamed by misinformation and moral decay. Yet perhaps the most chilling possibility is also the simplest: the fire is us. Once the rider has consumed our intuition and reflectionance, we have forgotten who we truly are. We ourselves become the fire. We speak with voices not our own, fight battles we never chose, and serve an ancient force indifferent to human suffering. When the fire speaks its true name, it will not roar through flames or thunder, but will echo through the voices of millions who no longer recognize themselves. This, Baba Vanga warned, is the final and greatest danger, not that the red horse will destroy us, but that we will destroy ourselves, believing all the while that we are doing good. In today's world of relentless information, polarizing narratives, and algorithm-driven outrage, her warning feels uncannily relevant. It reminds us to protect the sanctuary of our inner wisdom, to nurture compassion over division, and to remain ever vigilant against forces both technological and ideological that seek to invert our deepest values. Now, more than ever, we must strive to act with mindful clarity, remembering who we are and who we wish to become. And so, as we reflect on Baba Vanga's haunting vision of the red horse, one truth becomes clear: the greatest battle lies not out there in the world, but within each of us. The choices we make in what we believe, in how we treat one another, and in what we choose to share will shape the future we step into. If this journey has resonated with you, I invite you to join us as we continue to explore wisdom for these uncertain times. Please like this video to help spread these insights, share it with those you care about, and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom for more content like this. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming videos. Together, let's walk this path with awareness, compassion, and courage. Until next time, stay mindful, stay wise.